So it is now 4:02, which is our official start time for this event. So a little introduction for myself, I guess. I am the vice president of SCALA here, and as you all know, I hope so. As you signed up for this event, it is the Global Experiences Q&A. We'll be starting out with Dr. Smith, who is the professor and leader of the trip.
Oh, is that it? That's me. Okay.
Yeah, that turning it over to you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks so much. Well, I'm delighted to do this. It's a lot of fun for me. I have been in charge of global experiences really since 2011, when the previous dean walked into my office one day and said, "I want you to take students to Serbia." And I thought, that's nice. I have no idea where Serbia is, but I figured it out. We worked it out. We went, and we've been every year since, other than, of course, a few of those COVID years. So last year, 2023, was the first year we went back. And anyway, so the point of a global experience is we're trying to get you to do several things. We're trying to help you see librarianship in a different context. Librarianship, very broadly defined. So don't think if you're an archivist or a museums type person that you won't see anything of interest, because we visit archives, we visit museums, we run into all sorts of things. The other thing is we're trying to make you aware of different ways of looking at the world. Serbia is a country that the US was bombing 25 years ago as part of the disintegration of Yugoslavia and then the disintegration of Serbia. So you can still see buildings that are demolished by bombs, by American bombs. The people will talk about it very freely, which is a very interesting experience. And we're also interested in having you be outside the United States, see the world from a different angle, and then go back and see the United States with new eyes. And I think once you get to talk to the folks that have been and gone, that's actually one of the big things that you don't realize until you've gone and come back, is how differently you look at your own country, your own libraries, your own community. But anyway, so that's in a nutshell why we do this. The other thing is, when we're looking, there's a huge emphasis now on talking about diversity and inclusion. There is nothing better for helping you understand diversity and inclusion of going to a place where you are the minority. You're the language minority, you are the ethnic minority, you are the minority in everything. But at the same time, it's very safe. And that is one of the places. Usually I get calls every year from somebody's mother saying, "I'm really concerned that you're taking my child to Siberia." Okay, no, I'm not taking your child to Siberia. Then we got, I'm really concerned you're taking my child to Syria. I'm not taking your child to Syria. There was a third one that I can't remember that cropped up a couple of years ago. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, Serbia has a very long and very difficult history, and is still quite troubled, as many countries in that region are troubled. However, from the tourist perspective, it is very safe. It is also very safe for women. So I have no problems bringing you to Serbia and saying, go out and explore. Now, obviously, I'd rather you went out and explored with a buddy, and you always let somebody know where you are. But you should not be, it's not a thing where I think, you don't go down this street, don't go down that street. It's not like that at all. It's go out and explore, see life. Usually the trip lasts 10 days from start to finish, which means you leave on one day from the States. You will travel overnight. Usually your transatlantic flight is overnight. You will arrive the next day usually in Europe, and then you have to get another flight into Serbia. And we're there for however many days, and then you leave on the 10th day to come home. You come home in one day, pretty much. You are free, if you wish, to leverage the trip. So you're buying a plane ticket. So if you want to go early or stay late, that is fine. If you want your spouse, significant other, honey bunny to come with you, they are welcome to come before or after. We do not want them there while, simply because pretty much, first of all, you're going to be scheduled a lot of the time. And secondly, we don't want you being with your honey bunny all the time. We want you out there looking at life. But if you want to do that, you're perfectly free to do before and after. And a lot of students do. A lot of students might spend a little time on the way in. Ask Kim. Kim, you spent some time on the way in and on the way out? Or just on the way in Germany, if I remember correctly. Other people have gone backwards and forwards. Sorry, Kim.
That wasn't me. I actually flew direct from the East Coast. Somebody had a 5-day or a few days in Iceland on the way back.
Oh, yes. Iceland's always a good place to go. That's a different thing. I only have 15 minutes, so I won't say too much more. What I will say is, if you have specific questions that are not answered by the fabulous veterans who are here, you're welcome to email me and ask me. asmith37, my address is all over the SLIM website. But email and ask, that's fine. If you want a Zoom session to talk about it, that's fine too. So it's 10 days start to finish. How does it work as far as a course is concerned? I've just talked to the dean. Last year, we did a thing where you could sign up for 2 credits or 3 credits. If you sign up for 3 credits, you do an extra project to justify the 3rd credit, but the actual experience in Serbia is exactly the same. You're responsible for tuition at whatever your regular tuition rate is, and you sign up for 2 or 3 credits. You are also responsible for getting yourself to Serbia, which means you're buying a plane ticket. Now, I give you a lot of instructions as to how to do it. You're welcome to ask me for more help, but essentially you're on the hook for buying yourself a plane ticket. Plane tickets to Europe went up during the pandemic, and they have not come down. So I checked again a couple of weeks ago. It was still looking at around $1,900 to $2,100. You can find things that are cheaper. If you are fortunate to know someone who flies a lot and has 5 gazillion frequent flyer miles, absolutely, they can get you a ticket on frequent flyer miles if you like. The one thing that I suggest you don't try to do not try to fly on buddy passes. So if your spouse works for the airline and they can get you on a buddy pass, lovely, don't do it. The only couple of times that's happened, people have missed 2 or 3 days of the trip because they couldn't get there. And ironically, usually not because they couldn't get on the transatlantic flight, but because they couldn't get to their transatlantic destination. So buddy passes are not recommended. I really strongly discourage that. But frequent flyer miles, that's fine because it's a real ticket. Once you've paid for your ticket and you've got yourself to the airport, pretty much once you get to Serbia, SLIM is responsible for first of all, SLIM's responsible for your insurance that covers your medical bills should anything happen. It would also cover repatriation if something terribly dramatic happens. So SLIM covers that for everybody. SLIM also takes care of your hotel, which includes breakfast. you can ask the others about breakfast. But essentially, if you do breakfast well, pretty much you're only having to buy yourself one other meal during a day when you're there. Breakfast is an experience. We also take care of airport transfers to and from the hotels. We work with a company who are lovely. They're fabulous. It doesn't matter if your flight is delayed. Poor Hunter was astonishingly delayed, was supposed to arrive at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, arrived at 11:30 at night. The driver picked him up, and they even found him food at midnight in Belgrade and so on. So that's all taken care of. When we go to places, so when we travel to Novi Sad, we go by private transport. That's covered. We deal with all of that. If we take you to a place, last year we went to Viminacium, which is a big Roman city, big Roman excavation. We take care of entrance fees. We take care of guides. So the only thing once you're in Serbia that you have to pay for is other meals other than breakfast. And if you want to do touristy things. So if you want to go on a boat trip, if you want to go on an excursion that we're not doing, that's absolutely fine. You're welcome to do that. That's on you. So it's usually the plane ticket now is the biggest thing. There is also, so just a minute, your hotel, your transport are covered, and that is covered by the Ferber Fund. Edna Ferber was a little old lady librarian in California who passed away 20-something years ago, and evidently was a whiz on the stock market, and she left us a bunch of money. So the Dean uses some of that to subsidize this. Essentially, you're in Serbia expenses. We've planned that on sharing a room. And you can ask the students, don't ask the students who didn't share a room, but the students who did share a room, ask about the rooms, because it's upstairs, downstairs with a bathroom and a half. So it's a little bit, essentially you end up sharing a shower, which is a little bit nicer. We are offering you the option, if we can make it work this year, if you would prefer a single room, we can do that for you for a supplement. So you will pay what the extra for the single room, but we will offer that to you. Andrew, keep going. That pretty much is, oh, the other thing is there is a $75 fee by the Office of International Education. We do this through the Office of International Education so that we are official with the university, so that we use their insurance. And the Serbian Scholars Fund will cover that cost for you. So the Serbian Scholars Fund this year will cover your $75 OIE fee. And then the Edna Ferber, it's not Edna Ferber. Edna Ferber wrote Showboat. The Ferber Fund, whoever, the nice little lady who gave us a lot of money, the Ferber Fund will cover your hotel and your transport and other costs in Serbia. Ask the remaining folks about how much extra money they really needed to make it work. I don't think it's a whole lot, but there we go. So tomorrow, assuming I get my act together, the advisors will receive the application form. So as soon as you get the application form, and it's not hugely complex, it's some basic information about who you are. I do ask you if you have any special needs, and this is not to exclude people, but simply to give me an idea ahead of time if we need to make some extra accommodations, or if I need to suggest to you that this perhaps isn't the right thing. Lots of places we go are staircase access only. And it's not a case of, well, you could just take the elevator. There is not an elevator to take. And while I can arrange some things differently, depending on who's there, there are some other things that that aren't options. So let me know if you have physical limitations, and we'll do our best to deal with those. The other thing is, if you would, I will ask you about a private room. If you would prefer, excuse me, if you would prefer your own room, then, but that will be a place to let me know. You're not committing to that yet until we have finalized the prices, at which point we'll let everybody know exactly what the costs will be if you wanted to do that, and you can let me know. So assuming my brain works, the forms should go to Kathy, Becca, Ernetta, and Jenny tomorrow, and they will distribute them to you. If you already emailed me last semester to say I'm interested, I will email a form directly to you. If you haven't missed out. But we'll probably have a pretty narrow 2-week window for you to get the forms back. And I do ask you to write me a little bit of something that says, why are you doing this? How do you see this fitting into making you a better librarian, a better whatever? So that's pretty much it. Once we've decided on the group, and places are limited, but once we've decided on the group, you'll get access to a Canvas course that is actually basically a perpetual shell where we can do all the pre-trip stuff. And that's where you'll have all the advice on buying a plane ticket. If you wanted to do travel before and after, how would you think about that? And you'll be able to start doing some reading about Serbia and some places we're going to go. Once we hit summer semester, we flip into the actual course shell, and we do the course work there. Ask the folks there, usually at the end of the semester, I say to folks, did I give you enough? Did I give you too much? Was it about right? What else would you do? So they've given me suggestions, which I take on board. Interestingly, we're reverting this year. Last year, because there were a gazillion people who wanted to go, I did 2 groups of people overlapping. It almost killed me, and so I'm not doing that again. It was just too long for me as one person. It's me by myself. I'm on call 24/7 from the time I leave here until the time I get back here. And I had however many 20 people coming. Now, you're wonderful. You're fabulous students. You're all adults. It's great. But that's not what the problem is. The problem is simply, it's me by myself, totally responsible for. And it turned out it was almost 3 weeks at the end of the day last year. And as I say, almost killed me. So I'm not doing that again. So it is one group. The plan is to leave on May 31st and return on June 9th. Do not do anything yet. So you must wait until you get the official confirmation that, yes, you are in the trip, and that if you ask for a single room, here's how much it's going to cost extra. Are you okay for that? And then we'll move on with that. So does anyone have any quick questions for me before I leave you to my fabulous ex-students? Did I miss out anything terribly important or obvious? No, okay. My lovely ex-students have all said no, but of course, the minute oh, there's Sami. Hey, Sami. The minute I leave, they'll all say, well, I can't believe he didn't talk about. But anyway, but that's it in a nutshell. So you have some veterans of last year's trips, including some veterans who ended up presenting. So make sure you talk about that, Kim and Ash. I do not think, well, here's the other thing. Serbians are wonderfully spontaneous. So who knows what will happen. Professor Markovic, who was the lady that Kim and Ash and Jenei did not get to meet because she fell into an elevator and broke multiple bones and got whisked off to hospital. When she heard we were coming back, She used to be at the University of Belgrade. She is now at the European Centre for Peace and Development, which is part of the United Nations University for Peace. She said, oh, well, if your student's coming, we can arrange something. So there's a possibility that we can arrange something with ECPD. So I will be looking at that. But have Kim and Ash talk a little bit about their presenting and publishing experience. If there are no direct questions for me now, that's fine. Remember, you can email me and ask anything. Look for the forms coming out tomorrow. And other than that, I will say thank you for organizing this, Becca and folks. And I will quit and leave you to the wonderful stories of Dylan and Jenei and others. And I'm sure you'll have fun. So thanks very much for inviting me. I look forward to seeing all your applications.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for everything. Thank you so much for the information.
Okay, see ya.
Okay, so turning it over to the panel members, if you all want to kind of go over your names and when you went to Serbia, just giving information for the people here. When you went to Serbia, I'll turn it over to you guys.
What do you guys have questions about? What would be your biggest obstacle or like fear or about saying yes to doing something like this? Anybody have a what was that?
Sorry. For me, I think I'm most interested in how much it costs in the long run, aside from what Slim provides.
I live on the East Coast and I flew direct. So my ticket was on Air Serbia was under $1,000. And then when I got there, the food was inexpensive. I had already arranged for my cell phone to work, but I will say my cell phone service was spotty. Mostly it worked with Wi-Fi in the building, in the hotel, but that was fine. And I was able to do international ATM withdrawals out of my regular checking account to get cash. So I wasn't exchanging cash in a facility. I was just using the ATM in the hotel. Felt very safe. I think depending on what experience you want, the breakfast is not a joke. Eat the breakfast, eat a lot of the breakfast. It's very good. It's not necessarily an American breakfast. There's lots of fruit and vegetables. There's salad, this amazing coffee machine, and you won't be that hungry. We were maybe eating 2 meals a day. So the free breakfast, a meal, and then at 9 o'clock, depending on, there's different chemistry with different people. We're getting together in the cafe area of the hotel and usually having a dessert that costs maybe $10 for like dessert and wine, to be honest. A lot of people are having wine or coffee or tea at the end of the day. So what do you think, Ash, if you're really inexpensive?
Am I unmuted? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I flew out of Kansas. So I flew out of Wichita, and then I had a connection in Chicago, I believe. And then from Chicago, I flew out to Serbia. No, I flew to Germany and then Serbia. So I had 3 flights altogether. That was about $2,000. So almost double of what Kim had. But that's just because where I live. The breakfast, I am not a breakfast person. Make yourself a breakfast person before you go, because that is going to save your life. The first day I was like, oh, I'm not gonna eat because I don't eat at home, and I didn't eat until 3 o'clock. So because you ate this huge breakfast, you're not hungry for lunch. You have this weird dinner lunch thing at the end of the day, and then you have dessert at the end of the day in the evening. And when she mentions the desserts, they're huge. It's not just like a brownie with some ice cream on it. It is this whole elaborate situation. They are huge, they are delicious, and all of the food is just such a great experience. So you are gonna spend, I want to say, less than what we spend in America for food. And it's gonna be a great quality food everywhere that you go.
I think you could spend $20 to $30 a day on food if you're eating the breakfast. Those of us that like to have a glass of wine because we were in Europe would spend a little more, but it's less than you would spend at a restaurant in the United States every time, even with a glass of wine. So
yeah, I remember, Ash, when you got there and you kind of came down to breakfast and you kind of looked around and you were like, I don't really eat. And I was like, you should eat. We stay so busy doing all the touring and stuff that it's like you don't stop for food. Although Dylan can back me up on this, they sell popcorn on the street. It's amazing. And then there's like little, what I guess what we would call Circle K's or 7-Elevens that are just like planted on the street corners. So you can always get like a drink or a bag of chips or chocolate or something like that to kind of tide you over. One of our group mates brought like little baggies, so she would take like the trail mix and like put it in the little bag to like carry with her during the day, because it was like all kind of nuts. It is extremely fresh food that they put out. It's extremely delicious. I don't eat pork. I was really afraid going over that there was going to be stuff that was like intermixed. No, everything's separate. Stuff's really labeled. When you go out to the restaurant, they will ask you like, hey, because they know, first of all, Americans have crazy restrictions, even though we eat trash. And they'll ask like, hey, do you want this? Or do you want like this? And so they make it really clear. Yeah, like, don't let your food be your, like, the thing that holds you back, because it was really fearful for me. I'm in Arizona. My flight, I took Air Serbia out of Chicago direct from Phoenix to Chicago directly over. That cost me $1,500. So may have gone up by now. But
I will say that I drove 3 hours to the New York airport to then have the direct flight because I didn't want to get stuck anywhere. And then it was kind of fun to fly Air Serbia because I don't know if you had this experience, but you were in Serbia right when you got on the plane, and there you are. And people were talking to me in Serbian, and then they look at me and be like, oh no, that's an American. But it was great. It was, and on transatlantic flights, the food is incredible. You're like, it's great. Like grown-up preschool. They feed you. I'm going to sound like a lush, but it's European. So there's wine on the plane with a hot dinner. And then
beer for breakfast.
Or beer for breakfast. They give you a sandwich. You're constantly being fed. There's not as much water. So I know I'm very American. I'm always drinking water. So I did things I don't normally do. I carried a backpack. I packed in my suitcase. I packed granola bars and those little individual packs of nuts. And I put things in my backpack, and I had water bottles, and I was refilling. I was using tap water. It's totally safe. But I would have like a big liter of seltzer at night and then fill it up and take it with me during the day. I also packed sticks of like a hydration, with electrolytes, because we sweated our butts off. And so if you sweat a lot, you're just walking 8 miles a day. And it was humid, and if you sweat and you lose the salt and you drink water, you can dilute yourself. So I was also doing that. And I'm, a mom, so I was also like making sure other people didn't need snacks. With some people were not hydrating because we were not stopping to go to the bathroom. So I just told Professor Smith, we need potty breaks. This is crazy because I can't, I'm going to drink water and I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. He calls them comfort breaks. So don't be afraid to speak up because he will not take a break. So no. But yeah,
he will plow through.
He will plow through. I had a backpack, like I was some European backpacker. I maybe had 4 things in it. An umbrella, I grabbed that out of my car the last minute, and we ended up, because it was so hot and humid, we had thunderstorms, so the umbrella was good. I barely had anything in that backpack, but then if I bought something or I had my water with me, I took something to write with. It was fantastic. And the daily expenditures are not that pricey.
And I'll say, like, he was trying to put it nicely. I don't know if you can see in my picture, like the cobblestone-ness of the roads, and that's just your normal sidewalk. It's very uneven. Some parts, there are just holes in the ground. And, you know, we're not in America. They're not marking, there's not caution tape around it. And again, lots of stairs. There are not elevators in some of these buildings because they're from the 18th century. And there's just really old rooms. They don't have the same, you know, there's no ADA over there. So if you can't handle the long distance walking, and make sure you wear very comfortable shoes, that's definitely a thing, because you will be doing a lot of walking. And Dr. Smith, I mean, I walk fast. He walks faster. And he like will forget to turn around and make sure everybody's behind him. And then you're like, okay, he's on the next corner. And so, yeah, that man needs a tag on him. So
I will say I think I'm in decent enough shape, but I do have arthritis and I do have a pacemaker. So that's why I was big about the electrolytes. I don't want to deplete my electrolytes. And I felt amazing walking 7 hours a day, learning all day, hanging out with other librarians, eating new food. I felt energized. And so there are foods that I avoid sometimes, but I was told to just let it go while I'm on the trip. So I just managed my situation and I did fine. I was worried about wearing sneakers as Americans in Europe, and we look like we always wear sneakers. One of my friends from Belgium told me, don't worry about what other people think. Americans actually get the sneakers right. You should wear sneakers. And so I just got like cute sneakers and paired it with dresses, a lot of linen. Half my wardrobe was layers because I thought it would be cooler at night, but it was very hot and balmy while we were there. So one thing I bought that I didn't think I'd use were these little travel sheets. And I ended up washing clothes in the sink and re-wearing them because it ended up being so hot and I had to change more often. And there was a certain like 30% of my wardrobe I ended up really not wearing because it wasn't really cool at night. It was hot and rainy, kind of like the southeastern United States. So that was good to know. Sharing a room is not daunting.
Except for the stairwell.
Except for the stairwell.
You didn't mention that.
So I don't know about you, but our air conditioner, because they're there, but they're not used the way we use them in the States. Our air conditioner he made huge puddles of water, and it's like marble tile floor and a wooden staircase. And me and my roommate almost like died the first night, and eventually we just gave up on the air conditioner and opened the big beautiful windows and just dealt with the street noise. And I gotta be honest, I felt very fabulous and like I was having an adventure, so it was great.
Yeah, we didn't have a problem with the air conditioning, but that staircase is narrow. So what he didn't mention about the room is the room is upstairs, downstairs in one room. So somebody sleeps downstairs on the sofa bed and the other person sleeps upstairs. The downstairs person does have a half bath and the upstairs person has the full bath. So you do have to go upstairs to shower. It's super convenient. It's not terrible. Like Kim said, you can bring stuff and just wash it. He does really encourage you to not bring a whole bunch of clothes because you do want to take stuff back. You don't want to pay for being overweight. I know I came back and my stuff was overweight and the guy was like, oh, just go. But I ended up, like re-wearing the same stuff or just like washing stuff that I was like, okay, I'm just going to wear this again because it's too hot. It's not really cool. You don't need all these blazers and stuff because their idea of air conditioning and our idea of air conditioning is not the same thing. So
it's not the same.
just a
That's
hot fan is what
Yeah,
it is.
that's it's like it's damp. Like there, whatever they use doesn't take the moisture out of the air like we do in the States. And you will be surprised how American you are when you go somewhere and you don't have ice in your water. That's a big one. That's kind of funny. And then the air conditioning. But I rolled with it. I was like, let me just pretend like I know what I'm doing and open the big window. They have really cool windows. They open 2 different directions. So I can't even explain it to you. What are they, like 6 feet tall? The windows?
Really big. And I mean, I'm in Phoenix, so the heat part didn't bother me, but the moisture again. Like I used to live in Houston, and then it's that humidity kind of gets you. Like Dylan, we are right there, not even a mile from that picture that Dylan has behind him. So that river moisture is all in the air. So.
Everywhere. And the Hotel Moscow is so beautiful. It is really, and I think if you're considering the split room, I mean, everyone should do what they want. It's kind of nice that they're offering single rooms this time to folks. But I think I was in the first week of the trip, as Dr. Smith talked about his grueling double week adventure. And I was the only dude, so we had a co-ed situation. But you're on split levels. You do have kind of your own half bath. I was on the bottom floor. It really wasn't too big of an issue for us. So I think it really worked out well. And the hotel it's older, but it's got a lot of character to it. And there is a spa as well. So that was a nice kind of feature after a long day of walking 8 miles in the heat and keeping up with Dr. Smith. They have a nice spa downstairs that's included. And then I know at least a few students, I didn't, but you could book a massage or things like that as well. So definitely a nice, and you're right there in the center of Belgrade, which really made it great to just be able to, after the tour of the tours that Dr. Smith arranged usually started relatively early in the morning right after your kind of big breakfast, and then went through lunchtime and ended by early afternoon. So you usually had the whole latter part of the afternoon and evening to do whatever you wanted. And at least with our group, sometimes it was students being like, I want to check this out. You want to check this out? And the group would go somewhere. Sometimes folks would go off and explore on their own, but you're right in the center of Belgrade. So you really could walk pretty much everywhere. I think maybe a couple of times some students, you were able to get a taxi and go somewhere. But for the most part, you really could just walk everywhere you wanted to go.
You'll see, if you end up going, you'll see the floating nightclubs. We went to the floating nightclub, but they all started, the thing is, we were like, let's go to floating nightclub. They all start at 11. Let's find one that starts earlier. So we found one that started at like 9, and it was all high schoolers because the drinking age is 16. So we were there just hanging out with these high schoolers, listening to some Serbian music, which was very ska. It was great experience. We did not think about how we would get taxis back. The hotel called us taxis to get there, which was great. And we got there, and then we were like, how do we get back? But as soon as
bouncer, we were like, hey, call us a cab, because everybody was calling us a cab. And they're like, no. So what did we do, Ash? Why don't you tell them how we got a cab?
I ran after one. Somebody was arriving, so I just ran up and Hotel Moskva, and they were like, oh yes, because it's so well known. If you do end up needing to get back to your lodging, everyone knows Hotel Moskva, so just say Hotel Moskva and they will be like, got it, which is super comforting.
It's like a tourist thing for the people that live there. They come, you'll see them taking pictures in front of the hotel. It's that historic. It's like that meaningful to them. It's survived wars. So they love it. It's like almost a historical site for them. So you'll see people day and night just out there taking a picture in front of it. It's amazing. And the people are always out and walking nonstop, and it's amazing. So you don't feel unsafe like anywhere.
The Serbians in Belgrade, there was a very strong dog culture, and the dogs go everywhere. They go to the restaurant. One of our classmates and I took a walk very late at night. We wanted to see what was going on. I think it was after midnight. The KFC was hopping, and then we ended up in a park, and it was just a lot of people with their dogs, like everywhere we went. We got on a bus, or we went to a nice dinner. Somebody had their dog right there with them. They're very well behaved, very well trained, but it was interesting. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, you'll see dogs out like they just take themselves for a walk.
Yeah.
Where's your owner? They're just walking down the street.
Yeah. Can I ask, what was everybody's like favorite part of the trip? Like, why would you say like is your reason you would want other people to go and like experience it?
My favorite part was I call myself non-traditional in my path to be a librarian. I started as a teacher, but I'm not a library. I'm not a media specialist. I'm not a library teacher. I am now the director of a very small rural library. So I don't really have a lot of librarian people around me. The people at my library aren't MLSs. They're just regular people. So I was able to talk to like-minded individuals, and I was able to mention censorship, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this, that, and AI, and like it's the same thing that you want to talk about. And that was great. And we would have desserts every evening and just talk. That was so great. And also the walking tour. We went on a communist walking tour. It started raining on us, and we had to go in the bus, and everyone was smushed in like sardines, and it was a full big city experience for me. So that was a memory that I will have. And the man next to me smelled terrible, but that was
right in somebody's like situation, and I took a picture of it. I mean, that was the thing we did on our own, and by the end of the week, I mean, it was like summer camp. Like, we were all buddies, and the thing is, we have similar interests, and we don't hang out all the time. And so the communist walking tour was really great. We had a great time with it. Our tour guide was great, and then funny stupid stuff happened, like it rained, so we got on the free public transportation, like everybody else. And all the hot, humid people, it was nice. It was the real deal. So we had fun. And we ate, there was I would walk around and decide what restaurants I wanted to go to. And I would rope people into that. And there is a place that was called Patatas, and it's just French fries.
Yes.
It's so good.
It was so good. I mean, there's chicken tendies. And there's like fried cheese, all the things. But it's just one lady back there slinging fries in the oil, out the oil, and then the back of the menu's just dips. I mean, I think this could take off anywhere, but it
was like 2 steps from the hotel.
Yeah, it's like potatoes. It's all fries.
Potatoes was one of my favorite things. And then there's gelato everywhere, so you can always just have gelato. It's just like the popcorn; they're everywhere. I don't know if I have a specific like favorite part of it. You get to see everything in library. You get to see regular libraries. You get to see academic libraries. You get to see archives and their process. And they do it so differently over there. They do closed rather than just open stacks. So you get to see how they do their whole processes and interact with their patrons. You get to go to museums and see that process. You get to see like super historical things that, us in America don't really go back as far as they go back. It's so much beauty, and they're doing the same things in libraries, and they're worried about the same things in libraries that we are here. And it's just amazing to see how they're dealing with and what solutions they're coming up with. And the food is amazing. So
we also went to 2 American Corners, and I had never heard of these before. And I mean, the mind blown emoji. I was looking at everybody at the table like, did you guys know this? This is going to sound weirder than it is, because apparently it's pretty normal. But our State Department helps sponsor these things called American Corners. Sounds sketchy, right? But then you get there and you meet the people who are running them and you understand it. And then I did a little research to see what countries we have American corners in, and it's fascinating. I don't know if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down for me, but brand new information. And the people that we met, they have 2 librarians from Belgrade Public Libraries that are working in the American Corner. And what they're doing is creating a library. And I think they did like 300 plus programs a year. And not all of it's in English, but a lot of it is introducing them to American culture. And I think that is to maybe repair those years, not only where we had conflict with them, but also maybe some of the Cold War years. One thing that surprised me, I lived in Germany during the Cold War. I lived in West Germany. And so going back, I was thinking this would be like the Eastern Bloc and all the sketchy, like scary buildings and nothing's pretty. It's not like that at all. Yugoslavia as a communist state, I think, was more in front of the wall. And they what do they call it? Coca-Cola communism. So I don't want to get into that, but they still have their old Europe buildings. So it felt more like Vienna to me or something, not, you know what I mean? And it was the history, like you're saying, just goes back so much further than a lot of the history we have in the States. So I was really, really impressed with the old world European thing I was seeing going on and the cultures. And I learned a lot about the different, like Hungarian and Austrian, and even when you're in the libraries, a lot of Venetian influence, because that's where bookbinding was very popular and took place. So Vienna and Venice were huge influences on the culture there, and you see it in the architecture, and it was just stunning. And I had no idea that that's what that would be like.
Yeah, and just to build on Kim, and I don't want to give too many spoilers for those of you that do go, but like Roman ruins being integrated into some of these libraries, like it is mind blowing the amount of history. And I think my favorite thing about going on the trip, and I think it's because it's so unique. We're all in this online program, and being in a place physically with other students and a professor for 10 days, I think to me that just crystallized the whole experience. You get to have these conversations that are really difficult in an online program to have organically, like getting to know your fellow students and as people, and what brought them to, the program and what their interests and passions are. You learn a lot of things just walking around. And then as Jenei put, it's just, like getting to see these libraries. It was incredible. And you really see like how similar all the way halfway across the world they are compared to here, and just getting to talk to like librarians and how passionate these people are, what they have to do with so little, just like librarians here often have to do. It was probably the most inspiring part of the SLIM program for me, and I really recommend it. If you can scrape together the cash, and it's not cheap to fly, but if you can, I recommend it. And I'd say my other big plug is, if you need it, take the 3-credit option, because it really isn't that much more work, I think, than the 2-credit option. So depending on what you need to graduate, if you need that 3rd credit, just grab it. That would be I recommend. And then I think if you do, one last little tidbit, and maybe we can all offer some tips too, is if you take the course, Dr. Smith does slam you with a whole bunch of prep work. Like there's a whole bunch of things you can read and watch, and I think people did varying amounts of it going. I know I did. Like, there's a lot to get through. And the thing I found, and I think people, depending on your learning styles, will find more or less useful. One thing that Dr. Smith put that I would recommend to anybody is there was a BBC 6-part miniseries on the death of Yugoslavia that was available on YouTube that he posted. And I found that very, very informative. Just not knowing a whole lot about Yugoslavia and how Serbia came to be and the communist years. But there are a lot, like I would say pick and choose of the prep work that Dr. Smith gives you. Don't feel like you have to do it all.
Yeah, it didn't come up much.
I did put in there, I mean, you guys probably saw, I did it virtually the summer before that. Because of COVID, we couldn't go anywhere, so we went a lot of places. But that's also why I'm here to second what Dylan just said, is if you can go. I mean, yes, we had a great substitute experience going everywhere, and we Zoomed with all these different libraries. But particularly the two places we went, they shared some things, and I have not watched the Yugoslavian history, but they shared a little bit with us what they could. So I'd imagine that's very helpful to know. I also mentioned Scrapbooker and stuff, but just ask, or sneak photos. I don't know if you can. My husband went to Europe years ago in the Navy, all over the place. So it's like, sometimes be a stupid American. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are now, but scrapbook as you go, because you can get it while you're there. Take your little plaque pictures, because you're not going to remember wherever you travel. That's just good advice. I do that in museums, so you can delete them later if you don't want them. But yeah, if you can go.
One of our assignments was a journal throughout. So I don't know who taught me this. I can't remember who taught me this, but you take a picture and then you take notes of what's going on in the note feature on that picture.
Yes.
And then it's all right there.
It is. And back it up somewhere, because I lost a whole Florida trip with my kids when they're younger. Back in the camera days, before, cell phones. I think it got zapped in the air, flying here anyway.
Google Translate is a real thing. So it's helpful to have your phone and you can put that translate thing up to there and know hey, what is this place? And it'll translate it. I know we use that a lot going into places so we can know what the words on the building were. And it was nice to have in real time. And then I would take a picture of that so I would know, the translated version. So I would know what to say when we went through and did our things. I know, Kim, was it you that made you did a lot of Instagram?
I did.
Stories, and those were great.
And I used that for our final project because we got put into groups and we made a Canva, and I was doing, last summer it was the accidentally Wes Anderson trend. And I got to tell you, former Eastern Bloc countries are just rife with Wes Anderson looks. And so that I was having a lot of fun with that. And then I ended up using a lot of that for our presentation, because I think I took a little bit of, I don't want to say I'm not serious, but for me, it was just such an adventure and being around these librarians. And I have to say something about the librarians there. Some of these people, the archivists, they're trained in Prague. They're working on things from the 1500s that were handwritten by monks. They are scientists and chemists of paper. In Novi Sad, the archivist showed us where the townspeople bought themselves. They bought the town to make it democratic. It was from the 1700s. And I was like, this is where they kind of bought the title. You know what I mean? The aristocratic title. And they made themselves the owner of the town. So that, just shocking stuff. Their education is very different. Almost all of them, what was the word for what they do when they study a language? It was philosophy, something. I can't even remember what it was. Almost all of them, they had degrees in just studying languages, and they knew languages inside and out, backwards, forwards, historical, whatever. And they would all speak 4 or 5. One person in Novi Sad, I think she spoke 7 languages. And then they'd apologize to us for their English. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So they don't necessarily have a master's degree. They get a degree in something else. And a lot of these people have these language degrees. And then they take a course. That's what it is, philology. You're right. I was trying to come up with that word. They take a test. The first test is to do kind of like a card, like a mark record or something. And then it's like a bar exam. And then they become a librarian. So not comparing the two, I mean, totally different, but these are fun people to meet. They're really, really smart. Very impressive.
Kim, there's a question from Abby in one of the chats. Did you need a converter to power your electronics?
Yes.
Yes.
I bought a 2-pack. on Amazon. I think it was like $18, and I bought it so I could share with my roommate in case they did not know to do that.
I bought a power strip situation and it worked great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that was so sweet of you, Kim.
I just wanted to make sure. I would hate to get somewhere and just that one thing you didn't know to do. My husband's a pilot, so I don't travel. He does. And he was like, here, take mine. I was like, no, I'm going to get my own. I'm going to get a 2-pack because I have a roommate. Also, I logged into my Netflix one night and my net on my phone, and my Netflix knew that I was somewhere different, and it gave me the top movies in Serbia. So I watched movies from Poland and Spain, and I was just immersing myself into all of it. So it was fun. So log into your apps, and you'll get feedback from the location wherever you're at.
Oh, when you were talking about the languages, I wanted to share. I made a whole PowerPoint when we went to the city archives on our trip. He explained to us the history, and that might be in what Dylan in that film that you were watching, that miniseries. But he had to know Hungarian, Latin, Serbian, and German, depending on which point in time of their history that he was trying to read papers or research, whatever. And I was like, plus, like you said, several of them, they said, we know 7 languages. And they said the same thing to us. The whole, oh, pardon our English. I'm like, oh my gosh, you speak better than most of us. What are you talking about? You know? So yeah, I thought that was interesting just because of the history.
I learned how to ask for water with the gas, which is seltzer. So it was like Gazarina because I wanted seltzer water at the end of the day, being all hot and stuff. There was something I was going to tell you. Oh, we did a presentation. There was an academic symposium that Dr. Smith was presenting at, and 4 of us signed up. We wrote, it was like a 1-page, like quick blurb and we were part of one of his presentations as his students. Ash participated in that as well. And there were 2 other students with us. It was that, I mean, I was just saying yes to everything. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And it was a little intimidating, even though it was in Zooms, it wasn't like a big crowd, but these are like really smart people and everybody's speaking different languages. But I think somebody was giving a presentation in Hungarian. There's a presentation Japanese.
Yeah, the person that we walked in was in Hungarian, and then the gentleman before us was in Turkish, and he gave us his abstract in English, and he said, I'm so sorry that it's not in English. And we're like, no, you do your thing. And
listen.
Yeah. And we ended up, everyone thought we were PhD students.
That's okay. Like for a minute.
But it was just talking about your experience as an international type student, and being the cultural other was the focus of mine because I had never been out of the United States before. And just, I wrote about my first experience in Serbia was the customs line, and I did not know which line to go in because the signs are actually confusing, if you believe that. I turned to somebody and said, do you know which one? And pointed to my passport, and she said, oh, no English. And I'm like, great. Okay. That was the first time I ever felt that. And it was, I won't forget that.
Yeah. It's a lot of go with the flow. And don't be embarrassed, and don't let them be embarrassed. I know I was buying some tea at a grocery store. I like to go to the foreign grocery stores and just see what's happening. And I couldn't understand numbers. So I had to ask her to turn the little display towards me so I could give her the money. And she kind of rolled her eyes at me. I was like, okay, whatever. And I told Dr. Smith, and he said, you know what? They're embarrassed because they learn English in high school and not everybody's fluent. And I was like, why is she embarrassed? I came here thinking their language would be Germanic, and Slavic languages are not Germanic. They're much more sound to us like Russian and look like Russian. They use Cyrillic alphabet. And so I was a little dumb in that regard and wasn't prepared to not be able to understand anything. And also when we did the symposium and we started to learn, we learned a lot about ancient trade routes, like the Silk Road, Austro-Hungarian, different invasions on different parts of the river and different occupations. And so that area is so diverse with the cuisine and the music and the history as very, very, very interesting, and probably why there's so many different cultures and languages kind of maybe not like represented in your experience when you get there.
I did want to mention, I don't know the audience, but there's the question of how safe is it for queer people, and there was myself and a few other queer individuals, and we weren't told not to do anything or to do anything, but we sort of went about it as whatever they give me is what I'm going to get. So if they're going to call me she, I'm just going to take that. I'm not going to put up a fight about it, because I don't know exactly what I'm going to walk into, because their culture is different than ours, and they might not even understand what we're trying to say, and that will thus embarrass them and create an issue that we don't need to create. So it's safe for you there. We had an individual that went to a drag club. It is safe, but my recommendation is don't go in there expecting for it to be a very Americanized experience for queer people. It's a Southeastern European country. You've got to realize where you are.
I don't know if Ash felt this way. I know the group that we kind of started to hang out with, I think we always had a buddy, not because there was ever any fear, but just looking out for each other. But also we were enjoying each other's company, and just making sure other people felt comfortable. And what did I say? I said, if you get lost by yourself, it's scary, but if you get lost with a friend, it's an adventure. So you'll be fine. And I think I felt safe all the time. I can't speak for Ash or, some of the other people we were with, but I did take a late night walk with one of our friends then, and we all felt pretty safe, and like we could explore that general, busy urban area. So.
And we were there during a time of protesting, and I know they've been protesting again recently, their elections. I will say that they protest in like the best fashion ever. It didn't feel like it was out of control. I mean, we were advised just to stay inside because it was like mob deep of people were going to the protests, but there was no fear of like anything happening. Because I don't know if you guys recall, they did have a school shooting last year before we got there, and then this year I know they're having like a presidential issue, which they're very, very much politically like strong, and they have their reasons for which side that they're on, but they're very vocal about their government. They feel very strongly, but it was not unsafe. We sat in the hotel, all of us, and like had dinner in the restaurant and watched them outside. There was police everywhere. At no time did it feel like unsafe. It just felt very organized. They wrapped everything up at like 10 o'clock, closed, it
was very efficient.
Take the speakers down. Yeah.
You couldn't tell they were there the next day.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
there were porta potties, just lined them up on the street, and it was well done, I guess. I don't know what side was what, but we listened to it from our hotel window.
Sounds like we could learn something. That's all I'm saying.
Well, where the hotel is very close to Parliament, so you're really in the heart of the capital. So that's why we got to witness that. I think I saw somebody talk about trains. At the time we were there, someone had the idea to maybe go to like Romania, but the high-speed train wasn't up and running yet to go there. So we didn't do that. We never really took the train. We took some kind of a streetcar bus type thingy. That was public transport, and I think it was free. And people were curious about us, but very friendly, but just kind of like, why are Americans here? But but it was great. We loved it. I loved it. Can't think of anything else. Can you think of anything else, Ash? Did you go with us that time we got yeah, you were with us when we got the tacos late at night, and it was all Americans. Like what was it called? Taco Mama?
Yeah.
And I guess late night tacos is a distinctly Western American thing because it was like us and a couple other groups of Americans getting tacos after
like
the nightclub.
Yeah.
Well, Dylan, we had sushi at the one place, so like, yeah, there's all kinds of food. There is no limitation. There's pizza like crazy. We went to the Nikola Tesla museum, and there was a pizza place not too far from there, and we were just like, let's just walk. I mean, you will walk. Walk.
So eat food because you're gonna be fine, and I felt great afterwards. I think walking all day, it made me feel like, oh, this is what I miss in the suburbs.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Did anybody have any other like questions they wanted to ask? Okay, well, it was really great to hear from everybody. I think, Zipporah, did you have any closing remarks?
I don't think that there were any other questions really that we have that we didn't, that you guys really covered everything, really. It was really great to hear from all of you and all of your experiences, and this was really great and extremely informative. And actually, I don't know if it's the food that you guys described, but I'm really quite hungry now.
Those the potatoes. I will say I did 2 credit hours because my capstone is 1 credit hour. So I felt like that went well together, and I used this in your capstone. You'll have different parts of the profession, and I used the Serbia trip and the Serbia experience as lifelong learning as one of those values in SLIM. So it definitely does fit in academically. It's quite the experience.
I think a lot of my people were like finishing the program. I don't graduate until May, so I'm a whole like year behind. So I took the 3 credit. And like Dylan said, it's not much more. We did a LibGuide and like a PowerPoint. So.
Yeah, I did the 3 credit, and I think I used all 3 of the assignments that we did for my values in my capstone. I think I used all of them. It is very applicable.
I was going to say, if you want to see any of the other places that we went, you can look at my digification too. So I don't remember what I put it under, but it's out there.
Hey, is there anything else from the rest of you? Anything else? Otherwise than that, from us, we have a SCALA meeting that is coming up. It is on February 18th at 4 p.m. So not this next Sunday, but the Sunday after that, because as we all know, next Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. So we can all be excited for that. Yeah. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for all of the information that everyone shared today. It was a truly great and informative experience.